everybody. Good morning and welcome. I'd like to welcome you to the Ventura Center for Spiritual Living. I'm Reverend Bonnie Rose, and I just invite you to celebrate this day with us, this beautiful day. It's been a beautiful day outside, just gorgeous. And here you are, and here we are, all being beautiful together. So let's stand up and sing. We'll sing our congregational song, which is in your program, Blessed Always. We relax. We let go. We let God, and we listen to the words of our sacred reading.
Be Lost in the Call by Mevlana Jalaluddin Rumi. Lord, said David, since you do not need us, why did you create these two worlds? Reality replied, O prisoner of time, I was a secret treasure of kindness and generosity, and I wished this treasure to be known. So I created a mirror. Its shining face, the heart, its darkened back, the world. The back would please you if you had never seen the face. Has anyone ever produced a mirror out of mud and straw? Yet, clean away the mud and straw, and a mirror might be revealed. Until the juice ferments a while in the cask, it isn't wine. If you wish your heart to be bright, you must do a little work. Jesus sat humbly on the back of an ass. My child, could a zephyr ride an ass? Spirit, find your way in seeking lowness like a stream. Reason, tread the path of selflessness into eternity. Remember God so much that you are forgotten. Let the caller and the called disappear. Be lost in the call.
Let us lose ourselves in the call of the homecoming, the call of the I Am presence that lives and moves and has its perfect being in each of us as we sing together, as we remember.
To God's house, that's where I'll be. I'm moving up to God's house, that's where I will be. To God's house, that's where I'll be. There's plenty room in God's house, and they're holding one for me. Yes, they're holding one just for me. Oh, they're holding one for you and me in God's house.
Seems like a really odd way to start a Sunday message, but I gotta tell you, I love atheists. I find them so endearing. You may have noticed, in the part in the service where I bless all paths to God, I've started blessing atheists too, because I just love them. There's something about them. One of the beautiful things about my work as a minister is that I get to do weddings, often for people that other ministers won't marry, and I won't go into that whole scenario, but I get to do a lot of different kinds of weddings, and I'm often approached by atheists who want me to do their wedding. And they say they want me to take out all references to God, and I kind of want to mess with them and say, well, God isn't everything, so here's a blank piece of paper. But I don't. I'm polite. I'm polite. But a couple of years ago, I was referred by my nephew. Some of his friends the man in particular was an atheist, and they wanted me to do their wedding. So they came and they met with me in my office, and they were just lovely. And there's I think one of the reasons I find atheists endearing is that some of them are this couple in particular was just so apologetic about asking me to take God out of the ceremony. And I'm like, God doesn't care. If God is real, I'm kind of like Carl Jung, invoked or not invoked, God is there. So anyway, we were talking and they realized that, I had a sense of humor about the whole thing. And they were from LA, and the man worked in the film industry. And as we started to get to know each other a little bit better, he got very Hollywood on me. And so he rolled up his sleeves, and he looked like a big, important, sexy director. And he put his pencil behind his ear, and he's holding the script, which is my wedding ceremony, in his hand. And he's saying, okay, Bonnie, we need to tweak this paragraph here. Let's lose God and substitute love instead. After I told him he was going to go to hell for saying that. No, I was kidding. I didn't really say that. I just, of course I did what he wanted me to do, and they had a beautiful wedding, and they're still married, and I see them occasionally. They have a child now, and it's just wonderful how we're all connected. But that thing that he said to me, let's lose God and substitute love, it just kind of rings as so somewhat true to me, because so many of us have tired old notions of God that we have learned. And we can lose those and substitute love instead. Father Gregory Boyle, who wrote Tattoos on the Heart, he's the founder of Homeboys Industries, which is a gang intervention program, writes that God can get tiny if we're not careful. We do a really good job of projecting our tininess onto God, don't we? You've heard me say before that the kingdom of heaven, the presence of God, is like unto Costco. And that it is vast and unknowable. And we wouldn't take one treasured item that we understand from Costco, whatever you purchased in Costco recently, whether it be a flagoon of Grey Poupon mustard, or a vat of salad dressing, or a gross of industrial strength odor eater. I don't know why I'm looking at you, Todd. You wouldn't take that and put it in a box and say, this is Costco. I understand Costco now. You wouldn't do that with Costco, but we do that with God all the time. We make up a little tiny story about what God is based on the worst possible parts of ourselves, right? There's a Yiddish saying that says, if triangles had gods, then God would have three sides. Because we always project what we are onto God. We make up these stories based on the worst possible parts of ourselves, and we call this God. So I'm kind of a collector of worst possible stories about many things, as you may have noticed, tabloid headlines and Puritan Valentines and such like that. So last night I did some research about some of the horrible things that we say to God, and I've asked friends and went on the internet, and here are some of the worst possible stories that we say about God. Some people say that when they were a child, their spiritual leaders brought them into a place where there was Jesus on the cross, and they said, see that man suffering? That's your fault. And if you misbehave now, his suffering is going to be worse. Doesn't make any sense, but it's exactly what I'm saying, taking our worst possible aspects and projecting it onto God. The other thing that you should all know about God, and this is going to disappoint some of you, but I read it on the internet, so it must be true. God hates sex. Sex just about makes God want to barf. And it's so vile and so disgusting and so evil and so ugly that we must only do that thing with the person that we love the most. Our husband or our wife. Anne Lamott says that we can be pretty sure that we've made God in our own image if our God hates all the same people that we do. And this last one is a line from a song from the prophecy known as South Park, which I will have to edit a little bit for church purposes, but Hughes said the word that I'm going to take out. Jesus rode on an... Okay, so when I point to you, you all say that word, okay? God is going to kick your ass, you infidelic pagan scum. And sadly, that tune, God is going to kick your ass, you infidelic pagan scum, runs through my head almost constantly. I don't know why, but... And the reason I ended with that one is that that really is the image of God that many of us have made, a kind of a butt kicker who's getting ready to smite us. If he hasn't smitten us, smote us, whatever, already, he or she is getting ready to smite us. And now I know that all of us sitting in this center say, well, you know, we've let that go years ago. We're far more sophisticated than all of that, right? Sophisticated. But I do know that there are ministers in our movement that say that we have the market on prayer, that our 5 steps of prayer is the only way to pray. And that if you don't do it that way, well, if you don't do that 5th release step, thank God Lonnie did it, because that prayer would just be stuck here and we'd be stuck with it. And as I shared with you recently, when I was in India, I learned how much I project my parents onto my vision of God. You know, I had wonderful parents, but I do project the need to take care of them, to make sure that they don't ever feel any disappointment or any pain. I project that onto God as well. And so we're all constantly projecting this tiny image of God unto this vastness of the Creator, this magnificence that we speak of, that we sing of, that fills us when we see something beautiful, that magnificence that created the mountains and the redwoods and the ocean, all of that. We project our tininess onto that. And what if this morning could be about something different, doing it differently, doing it better, doing it more expansively, doing it with more wonder, doing it with more love. What if this morning could be understanding that God is pure, immeasurable, unknowable love that is beyond our wildest imagination, and that we devote ourselves to that love. But here's where the quantum leap comes in. I believe through experience, through intuition, through mystical knowing, that not only do we devote ourselves to that love, but that love devotes itself to us. Surely those of you who have children, or dogs, or cats, or guinea pigs, anybody? Surely those of you who have animals know how much joy it brings you to serve them. It is God's good pleasure to give us the kingdom, just like it is our good pleasure to give our loved ones everything to make them happy. I know that I have spent hours over the last 12 years that I've had dogs, chauffeuring them all around Ventura County so that they can have a good experience running this beach or playing in these woods or what have you. I know, or how many of us who have animals have woken up like some type of a contortionist because our animals sleep on the bed with us. And you're adjusting yourself all night long to make sure that in my case, the 2 dogs, the husband and the cat, there's 5 of us in my bed, that they get a good night's sleep. So there's all of that. There's that knowing that we have, that we love, that we love to give the kingdom to other living beings that we adore. But there's also something else that I've learned from the animal kingdom, from watching the animal kingdom, about God's devotion to us. And I know this because I have pointers. Laughing at Amy Michelson over there, who has a pointer. She is my pointers practitioner because she knows pointer consciousness. Pointer consciousness, they come in with it, just like your children probably came in with a certain consciousness, a certain intensity, a certain thing that is uniquely them. The other day I went out for about 20 minutes and I left my dogs in the house and my sock drawer was slightly open. When I came back, our puppy had taken at least 20 pairs of socks and planted them just blissfully all around the living room. Some greater power made her do that. And what I really understand about God and intensity and pointers and this focused energy that is on us is when a piece of kibble rolls under the refrigerator in my house. Some of you know what I'm talking about, right? It may not only be pointers, but if a piece of kibble rolls under the refrigerator, all production ceases. I can't meditate, I can't watch television, I can't work, because there is this incessant pointing, barking, pawing at the refrigerator. And I have to eventually, I should learn. I usually try and think they'll forget about it, but they don't. So eventually I have to get like Atlas and put the refrigerator, pull the refrigerator out like Atlas moving the world, and allow them to have the kibble, and then they're happy again. Now, what does this have to do with a God who is devoted to us? Well, let me take another leap, as I'm known to do, and ask you another question. How many of you have been watching the TV series Cosmos? I saw somebody shot their hand up in the balcony. It is an awesome program. And in this I've only seen it once, but I plan to watch it every time I can. It's on Sunday nights at 9. And it's about the cosmos. It's incredible. It's so beyond what I thought the cosmos was, and even what we think the cosmos is, what the scientist thinks the cosmos is, it's so beyond that. You know, we talk about how we live in the Milky Way, and it's this vast galaxy, and the Milky Way seems pretty vast to us. But I learned on this program, and backed it up by looking on the internet, that it is believed that we have 500 billion galaxies. Who creates that? Not that tiny God that we were talking about that hates sex and all of those other things that we say about God that's getting ready to punish us. It's this vast immensity, this power, this presence, this love, this thing that has this love of creating. And that thing, that essence, that energy is totally focused on us like a pointer pointing at something. It is focused on us, waiting to express, waiting to expand, waiting to be allowed to give itself permission to come through and express as our most magnificent life. That is God's devotion to us. If you are here, it is because God thought enough of you to create you and fill your life with its presence. So I know in this teaching that we often talk about praying to God for what we wish to experience, what we desire, what our heart's desire is, what our hopes are, praying for other people, for their hopes and their heart's desires. Lately, I've been playing with the idea that not only do we pray to God, but that God prays for us. And I wonder what those prayers would look like. I don't know. I'm making it up, just like some of the other stories we make up about God, but I like my story a whole lot better. What do God's prayers for us look like? I was pondering this, and I was reminded of a story of the playwright John Patrick Shanley. Anybody seen Moonstruck? Yeah, he wrote that play. He also wrote Doubt, among other things. Very wonderful playwright. And one of my friends took a seminar with him, and she said that in the seminar, one of the students asked him, just tell us the secret. How do you write so well? What is the secret of writing? And John Patrick Shanley, I thought, had a brilliant response. He said, I have to be willing to write better than I can write. I can imagine they were kind of like, what else you got? Perhaps we can relate to that somewhat, particularly parents. When you had your children, was there any part of you that thought you weren't up to the task? Anybody? There is something within us that can parent better than we can parent. There's something within me that sits down every Saturday and says, I've been doing this for 12 years now. I don't have one more thing to say. And then I come up with something to say on Sundays. There's something within us that can teach better than we know how to teach. There's something within us that can live better than we know how to live. There is something within us that can love better than we know how to live. How to love. Excuse me. So perhaps God's prayer for us is help them to live. Help them to be willing to live better than they can live. Help them to be willing to love better than they can love. And if we sit in that energy, if we sit in that knowing, trusting that that vastness that created the cosmos, that created those 500 billion galaxies, is pouring that essence of help them be willing to be more expansive, help them be willing to be greater, help them to be willing to be magnificent, help them to allow me to come through and pour through and bless every single aspect of their lives in my love and my greatness. Isn't that encouraging? Isn't that a happier prospect? Isn't that something that makes you trust and feel good and want to go out and serve? Isn't that a whole lot better than God hates sex? Right? Help them to be willing to live better than they can live. Help them to be willing to love better than they can love. Now, all of this is very much in the head and the heart. Perhaps we feel something as we're talking about this. Perhaps we're wondering how we can apply this to our lives in a very practical way. Certainly it is by changing our thinking about God. You know, in this teaching, we say, change your thinking, change your life. Change your thinking, change your life. And I am kind of what's a nice word? I guess sort of a heretical science of mind minister, and that I don't particularly dwell on that, but I do know that the quality of our thoughts creates the quality of our experience. Change your thinking, change your life. But not only do we think ourselves into a new life, into a new way of living, I believe that simultaneously we are called to live ourselves into a new way of thinking. And that means living as if we knew that expansive God, the God that is so much bigger than our imagination, the God that created those 500 billion galaxies, trusts us and is on our side and is willing and loving to work through us every single day. And if I could sum that up in one word as to how we are to live, I would say that we are to live with generosity. God is generosity itself. God generates, God creates, God doesn't stagnate. God is generosity itself. Now, some of us, particularly in this day and age when so many of us are pulled in so many different directions, anybody, or is it just me, right? So many different directions. We may be feeling like, oh my goodness, I already give so much. I already give so much of myself. I feel depleted. How can I possibly give anything more? And the truth is that once we get really good at living from a place of generosity, the giving and receiving are indistinguishable. The giving starts to feel like receiving. We just start where we are and say, what am I to give in this present moment? And so often, given our busy lives, what we are to give in this present moment is simply giving ourselves a break, a moment to breathe, a moment to sit in the wonder and the love that is the Spirit, a moment to sit and celebrate the magnificence of Spirit of God that wishes to pour through us in every single moment. Every single now, every single moment contains the opportunity to give and to receive and to trust and to know that the two are one. It's what St. Francis meant when he said, it is in giving that we receive. It is what I mean when I say I would much rather be a wide receiver than a tight end. And I don't even know what that means, really. So how will you give today? What will you give today? Who will you give it to? How will you show up and allow that magnificence that created those 500 billion galaxies to pour through you, to love better than you know how to love, to give better than you know how to give? How will you show up and say, I will give whatever I can to this moment whenever I can? How will you just express this magnificence and this flow and this wonder that you are? Part of it, I hope, looks like this. William Blake, the poet, said that we are here to bear the beams of love. We are here to learn to bear the beams of love. So won't you take a moment right now and look at this beautiful building that we're in, the love that created it. Look at our beautiful band, the love that created them, and our singer, all of the beautiful music that pours through them. Our practitioners, our board, our pulpit support, our Todd who got the flowers, our flowers. Bearing the beams of love from all of this, looking at this beautiful day out the window, the sun shining through, in this beautiful community, in this beautiful world. And now, to make it really special, look at the people sitting around you. Look at the people sitting, I can't look over there because my family's sitting over there and I'm going to start to cry. But look at the people sitting around you. I can't look over there either. And see if you can bear the beams of love that are coming your way. And because there is so much love, and because you are so beautiful, I trust that another one of God's prayers for us is help them to believe the truth about themselves, no matter how beautiful it is. Let's do that now. Let us pray. You just sigh with me, just let it out. It's so wonderful to know that even a sigh contains so much magnificence, so much power, so much love. The act of inhaling and exhaling is just such a grand cosmic design that is so individualized in each of us. How wonderful it is to live in this mystery and not even know what it is, but just to be here in appreciation, in ever-expanding appreciation of this magnificent, this beautiful, this powerful thing that we call life, that we call God, that we call love. I celebrate the awareness of this knowing in my life. I celebrate the power and the presence, truly knowing that there is only one desperately beautiful life. And that life is God's life, and that life is the life of each of us, and that life is my life right now. And so as I pray, I speak in the first person, but I am using the universal I am that applies to all of us. As I say that I am love, I am peace, I am power, I am joy. And because I am all of these things, I know that these qualities infuse my being, that no matter what the circumstances, I am all of these things and so much more. The power of God, the peace of God, the love of God, the understanding of God, the compassion of God, all of this has nothing to do with the external world. It is all the internal livingness of the divine that has its perfect being within me. And so I receive it. I say yes to it. I open my arms, I open my heart, I open my being to recognize that that devoted presence of God that created the universe, that created the galaxies, that all of that is pointing at me with pointer-like precision, waiting and wanting to express in my life in all of its fullness, in all of its love. And so I say, help us to love better than we can love, and help us to live better than we can live. Help us to be that highest intention of spirit here on the planet Earth. I am grateful, so grateful for this teaching, so grateful for this truth, so grateful for this knowing of new and wonderful expressions of God that come through each of us, that generosity, that love, that kindness, that goodness, all of the things that we teach in this center. I'm so grateful for the manifestations of these words in the flesh. And I bless this spiritual teaching and all of the people here today. I bless this center. I bless all paths to God, churches, temples, mosques, and ashrams. I bless the atheists. And with a heart that is so filled with love and so filled with gratitude and so filled with the cosmos, I say thank you, Spirit. Thank you, God. And I release these words into the mystery. And together we say, and so it is. Please repeat after me. I am held in Spirit's holiness. Divinely guided by wisdom, courage, and love. I am always connected. I seek God in everything. I create joy on earth as I share my blessings. Thank you for my life. And so it is.